Alright, so this is going to be a little training video for all you FTOs on Agency 360, what your expectations are as an FTO, and a brief overview of all of the components of the Agency 360 system. So the first thing you want to do is obviously click on Agency 360 on your desktop, and it's going to bring up your login screen. Your username is always your first initial and then your last name. So for Joe FTO here, it's going to be JFTO. And then your default password, and the default password for all of your new hires is going to be password with a lowercase p. So just the word password will get you logged in. Anything on your dashboard under your action items are things that need reviewed. So for the new hires, they're going to have their daily observations here that they'll need to review on a daily basis. So they should log in, look at any daily observations that are pending review from them, click on it, review it, go into recruit review, and then put in any comments that they want to put in, and then type in their password and submit that. That's the only way it gets into my dashboard for review, so that I can kind of track how they're progressing and how they're doing. So when you guys log in, typically you're not going to have any action items as an FTO, but if you, on a daily basis, there are going to be a couple things that you're going to have to do with your new hire. One is obviously the daily observation under field training, daily observation. Click on that. That's going to bring you into your evaluation. We're all familiar with that as far as how that works, but just a refresher here, the first thing you want to do is select whatever trainee you're evaluating that day. So for example, here we'll say we're doing Abby Rickman. What phase they're in, are they in P1, P2, or P3? Shift, so whatever shift we're on that day, so we'll say it's a green shift, and then location, what station you're at. We typically won't be using the non-evaluation day or the extended checkbox there. So then you want to go through and give each individual a rating in each category. So for professionalism, we're going to rank them on a 1 through 5 scale. Our goal for all new hires is for them to be at that 3 or acceptable rating in all categories in order to come out of orientation. If you ever wonder how you should rank an individual, you want to make sure you click on that question mark, and that's going to give you a good description of what it means to be a 1, a 3, or a 5 in certain areas. So for truck maintenance, it has a description on what unacceptable, acceptable, and superior is. And each category has a description on the 1 through 5 scale. This will make you a little bit more consistent and make sure that each FTO is ranking their new hire consistently in the same way, so that there's no favoritism or opinions. Really, it should be really straightforward with how you rank that individual. So that's the rating section. NO means not observed. So not observed means that you didn't observe them doing that particular area that day. So for example, if you didn't do any emergency driving that day, or they don't have EVOC, you can just click that not observed, and it's not going to require you guys to put in a rating there. Not responding to training. So this is used really to flag Lloyd and myself on a new hire in an area that they're just not progressing. So you've worked with that new hire in the past, you've offered them coaching, you've helped them in multiple areas. Let's say patient assessment, they're just really struggling in patient assessment. They have for the last 3 or 4 shifts. You've worked with them extensively, offered them coaching, and they're just not progressing. So mark that not responding to training. It does require a comment, and that will flag me and Lloyd as well, and we'll be able to help you guys and kind of help intervene with that new hire on how to coach them and how to mentor them, and really put in an action plan that's measurable, so that we can continue to hopefully help them progress, but if not, gives us a gauge on how to really move forward with that individual as well. Attempts we really don't use. That would be if we're trying to figure out how many times somebody did an intubation or something like that. We don't use that section. And then comment. Anything that is a 2 or lower, you really should be putting a comment in why they're below a 2. If they're unacceptable in professionalism because they didn't show up in uniform, or their uniform was dirty or ripped, or they didn't have a poor personal hygiene, that's where you want to type that in there and give them that feedback so that they can hopefully improve for their next shift. And this is something you can work on throughout the shift, and hit save as you go periodically. You can put in trainer comments at the bottom that will give a full summary of what you worked on, what you did, and how they did that day, the new hire. So once you have it fully filled out and complete, go ahead and type in your password and hit submit, and then it's going to go off into the recruit review where they have to go into their dashboard and verify that all the information is correct and type in their password. The second portion you want to utilize is the checklist tasks. So after feedback from you guys in our last FTO meeting, we did revamp the checklist a little bit. It is now much more focused on individual competency and different areas that we want to focus on throughout their orientation process. It's no longer a running list or running curriculum where we were finding people were getting behind or not knowing where each person was. So really it's something you want to go in on a daily basis and look to see if that's something you covered throughout your shift. So obviously most of the time you're going to cover station duties or daily duties and talk about what the daily duties are. And if you're blanking on what it exactly means, again, there's a description, and anything that has a question mark has a description in it. So click on those question marks to get a better understanding what you should be teaching that new hire. Some things have multiple times you want to go over. Obviously, you want to go over daily duties multiple times because it's extremely important. Customer service, SOGs, but some of them it's just 1 or 2 times you have to go over that with the individual. So, for example, long distance transfers. That's something you really just need to touch on one time with that new hire. Make sure they have a good understanding of what it means to be on a long distance and kind of the perks of the long distance as well. So let's say throughout the day, so again, you select your trainee, you select what shift you're on, what phase they're in, and then you can go ahead and check off anything that you completed that day. So some days you might have multiple things that you went through with that new hire, and some days you might only have 1 or 2. Some days you might have none just because they're getting to the end of the orientation period and most things are checked off. You can condense it down into smaller areas, so if you want to see if they've talked about air medical, or if you want to see if they've talked about the code transfer policy, you can go into those specifically. So once you check a box off, you want to go all the way to the bottom, put any comments in, good day, got through a lot, whatever you want to put there, and type in your password, and then that area will be deleted out of there. It'll still show up as a category, but there will no longer be a checkbox there, so you know it doesn't need to be completed anymore. So the goal, obviously, of all the new hires and before they get out of orientation is to have every single checkbox completed so that we know that we had discussions or they're able to demonstrate, educate, or verbalize every single area in the checklist. So again, more competency-based. It's going to be based off what they're able to do, perform, verbalize, educate, and not so much things you're going to have to talk about on a daily basis. So this is something you want to go into every day, go through things. If there's multiple things still missing and they're kind of nearing the end of their orientation, that's where you want to start facilitating those discussions and getting them checked off in certain areas. But the goal is to get them fully completed in this entire check sheet complete by the time they're off of orientation. The other areas that we might utilize is the phase advancement form. So basically, the phase advancement form is somebody you've been working with quite a bit, and they're just proven to be ready to come off orientation. So they're in that P3 phase. They've been doing really great. Their checklist is completed, and they're ready to come off a little bit early. So you can type in comments on why you think that individual should be coming off orientation early, and then that gets sent to me, and I can evaluate that individual, to make sure that all the FTOs feel the same way about that person, and then we can get them off orientation a little bit sooner. Same thing for somebody who's maybe in P2, and they were a student here, and they don't really need all 5 days to ride along, and they're just really comfortable. If they're on the 3rd or 4th day and you think they're ready to come off early, you can do a phase advancement for them out of P2 as well. So that's the phase advancement form. FTO critique is for the new hires. So they might want to use that to give you guys kind of a thumbs up, a pat on the back saying you did a really great job. And they also can use that to maybe express some opportunities that they encountered with you. So if there's some time that maybe they had a bad interaction or a bad shift with an FTO and they just want to let myself or Lloyd know about it in a discreet way, that's a way for them to kind of give that you guys feedback in both positive and opportunities for you guys to improve as well. Quiz. So there is a protocol quiz that we're working on adding into there so that the new hires will be able to take a quiz to come off orientation, not currently functioning. And then resources. Our protocols are in there. As we develop training tools, there'll be more things in there as well. The search function. So this is a good area to look at a new hire So if this is the first time you've worked with that new hire, you want to go ahead and do a search and see how they've been doing. So let's go ahead and look at one of the new hires that's been through. So Melissa Wickman. Say I've never worked with Melissa Wickman. I can click on her and I can see every single daily observation that's been done on her. And then I can click the view, and that's going to bring up her evaluation for that day. So it just gives you an overview of how they've been performing, especially if you haven't worked with somebody before. You want to see how they've been doing, or if you worked with them 3 or 4 shifts ago and gave them some pointers and helped them through a couple processes, and you want to see if they're improved in that area. You can go ahead and look at that as well. So that's your way to really look at each new hire and see how they're progressing. So that's Agency 360 in a nutshell. Lloyd and myself are all administrators for it. So if you have any issues with your username, password, or have questions, feel free to contact Lloyd or myself. Hope you guys found this beneficial. Thanks a lot.